Hi, everybody. This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on April the 2nd. Lived through April Fool's Day, and I've got a lot of good information for you. That's April 2nd in the year of our Lord 2026. Okay, let's go ahead and jump over here. And by the way, uh, I guess Pam Bondi is no longer has her position. Donald Trump has asked her to step down. And I've got a video in my daily news wrap up that I'm going to share with you on that. So let's click over here to Murtech on Rumble. This is my Rumble channel. This is the live stream we're going over tonight, episode 1875. Let me get into this. Hi, Debbie BS. This is the live stream. Thank you for joining us. Anybody else feel like chatting? Just jump right in there. Don't be bashful. Okay, let me click the show more button and expand out the description box. All right, we got information from Dan Bongino, Anthony Brian Logan, Robert Gouveia, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout outs to give from CL Bromley, just started following my channel. Caddy Do 2 just started following my channel. Scraw F just started following my channel. Byron Brown 77 just started following my channel, and Davey P just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right. M41 Coco reposted my episode 1873. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1874. Debbie BS commented on my daily news wrap-up. And Debbie BS commented on my episode 1874. Debbie BS also commented on my extra 656A, 656B, and 656C. So Debbie, you've been busy. All right, thank you very much. Let me give you a thumbs up here. And thank you, M41 Coco, for reposting my episode 1873. All right, let's see what Dan Bongino has to say in Due Time, episode 2486. Let's check this out.
So let's get this show started today. Folks, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because there's other things to talk about. And one of the things I've learned in the 10 years of doing this show, you can't bombard the audience with the same thing over and over again, no matter how interesting or maybe uninteresting it is to you, but it's in the news every day. They want to hear about the whole portfolio cornucopia of things going on. They don't want to get lost in one story. I learned that early on, covering the Russia hoax, that you can't do 100% of your show every day on the same thing, even when it was in the news. You can do 80% and 20% is other news. So, but I do want to make sure you understand this, that right now what you're seeing with the Butler case, with the pipe bomber case, what you're seeing with Charlie Kirk, what you're seeing right now is an inversion of what we stand for as constitutionalists and Americans. We believe in process. We believe in order. We believe in evidence, not star chambers, not trial by Twitter. If you don't believe in that, listen, let me just be clear with you. This is not the show for you. It's okay. I will be fine. What bothers the grifters and bums and zeros and bots out there, well, the bots don't really have any feelings, that's why they're bots, is there's nothing you can do. The show's not going anywhere. The audience isn't going anywhere. Every day you tell me no one's going to show up tomorrow, and we just keep getting better. There's nothing you can do. And I know that bothers you. But attacking the process and United States citizens and trying to contaminate trials, try people on Twitter is just disgusting. I mean, that you got that grotesquity in Kentucky. This guy, anyone in Kentucky in the Massey race, is this guy, does he ever do anything for Kentucky? Or does he spend all day attacking U.S. citizens on Twitter during ongoing criminal trials? But by the way, cases he knows nothing about. He thinks we don't see through his little rage bot army. There is no bigger loser in Congress than this guy. He just can't stop. He's like a child. Do you have any idea how many texts and tweets and DMs I get from people who know this guy saying, thank you for taking this zero on in his little rage bot army? It's all fake. None of it's real. Watch how coordinated the response is. It's odd because forget about him for a minute. The guy's a zero. I said, you guys pick who you want, Kentucky. It's not my district. I live in Florida. You want him? Fine. You can spend all his day claiming to be a libertarian while trying to impact an ongoing criminal trial and screw up due process. But there's absolutely no question we have an inversion of justice going on right now. Folks, you either believe in the system or you don't. That applies to Tyler Robinson. That applies to the pipe bomb case. But it also applies to Butler. The only reason I bring up Butler is I'm going to mention because, again, it's not even worth it who it was. It doesn't even matter. I heard this guy commenting yesterday, Butler, we still don't know how we didn't get into any of the devices. Folks, I just told you last week or 2 weeks ago, I showed you the article on Fox News with the 2-hour sit down we did with Fox, where it's all out there. Like all you had to do was read the article to see how many devices we got into. There's no device we didn't get into in the Butler case. It's just not true. You can say it all you want. It's just making you look like an idiot. That's why I tell you in due time, when the fog of war of all this starts to dissipate, we've been through this before, folks. I've been through primaries where opponents of Donald Trump, when I supported Trump in 2016, 2020 and beyond, you have any idea how many supporters of other candidates would DM us? Guy, remember this? Remember we went through this in the primary? Yeah, I'm done. You suck. You're the worst. And then 3 weeks later, they're sending you the same thing. I thought you were done 3 weeks ago. We've been through this before. In due time, the truth always comes out. It's coming out now. It was a fascinating piece that came out last night. And when the truth comes out, you're going to have to tell your kids who you really were, which was, hey, I shouldn't have done that. That's what you're going to have to say to your kids. It's pretty embarrassing. You see it right now. And I've said to you often that the trick these people use is they don't attack Donald Trump directly on any of these cases because the people he appointed at the FBI and elsewhere, it's just easier to attack them. So you can get the Trump vote without attacking Donald Trump. You attack his surrogates. This is what I've been telling you about. The problem is Donald Trump is on the side of the truth. When it comes to the Candace Owens nonsense and all the other stuff about Butler and all that, you don't think he knows? So what, he knows some hidden knowledge out there about getting shot in the head and he's just not telling anyone? But you know, despite the fact everything you said is a lie and you could have just read it in a Fox News piece. Here's Donald Trump yesterday, President Trump at the White House. He's talking to the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, in the front row. He doesn't mention any names about who he should sue, who she should sue, but he's pretty clear about his position. This is what makes me laugh. Like, there's only one team here. It's the MAGA team. You trying to segregate us out and separate us off. It's not working. You just keep getting your asses kicked. Check this out.
I think you should sue him, but, you know, I told her, you ought to sue somebody. They're so jealous of Erica. I said, you ought to sue their I can say it, you're not allowed to say this. You have to be nicer. Sue their ass off.
So I don't understand. He's not satisfied with how the investigation was conducted. Is that your point if you're a rage bot? Yet he seems satisfied enough that all the misinformation, bullshit specialist, propaganda people out there, he's encouraging Erica to sue them. Does that even make any sense? That's why this audience continues to roll on. And everyone else, I've seen this bullshit over and over. It's a grift. Up, down, then some other person comes in and the rage bots and everybody realizes they're bullshitting and then down. I've seen it over and over again. All right, so some other stuff happened yesterday too that's really important. That's why we got to get into this because this is going to change the whole country. I want you to listen to me clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Supreme Court rules against Donald Trump in this anchor baby birthright citizenship case. Listen, we are in a world of freaking hurt. It'll create a de jure, not de facto, constitutional right for illegal aliens, illegal foreigners, potentially from foreign enemy countries of the United States, to come to the United States of America, even illegally, set it up with birth tourism or get a quickie visa, overstay, whatever, it doesn't matter, and basically come into the country, have a child, and guarantee that child citizenship. Now, you may say, wow, that sounds like that could be a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be a problem. It is a problem right now. These individuals that have children here illegally who get citizenship have children that grow up with a U.S. passport. Some of these people could be enemies of a foreign power that could become, military officers. Does anyone else see this as a problem? A little out of order, the Will Cain clip. Well, Will Cain's my friend over at Fox. He has a show on 4 p.m. Eastern, so it's a great show. Will Cain, yesterday on his show, did the storyboard. I want you to see how big of a problem this is. In case you think what I just said is bullshit, oh my gosh, some foreign power. They're not going to breed into the country a bunch of spies. It's just a couple of people here or there. A couple of people? You sure about that? Supreme Court, man, I hope you guys are paying attention here, because whatever you decide, this is an existential issue. Check this out.
Reports of foreign wealth being used to manipulate the system. One Chinese billionaire reportedly has more than 100 U.S.-born children through surrogacy. The idea, build a future family and a business succession plan. Some clients, by the way, request up to 100 babies via multiple surrogacies for $1,000. And why would they do that? Because babies born here are automatically U.S. citizens. Also, surrogacy is illegal in China. Nearly 41% of international surrogate parents in the United States are Chinese. So why is this such a debate? Look around the world. Much of Europe has restricted birthright citizenship. Asia basically ended it. The United States, still one of the few countries around the world that sits as an outlier.
Why are we one of the few countries around the world that does this? It's not. This isn't a business that's like desperately searching for customers, i.e. the United States government. You have probably close to 1 billion people who would enter the United States tomorrow if we just said, hey, open borders, everybody come on in. We're not like desperate for new citizens here. We get them. People come here because it's the greatest country on earth with more economic opportunity than any other place on earth. You get what I'm saying? We don't need this extra sales pitch like, hey, man, whatever, just come here legally, illegally, doesn't matter. Just come on over. We really need people, and we'll give your kids citizenship right away. We don't need it. Why are we doing this? There's a sliver of countries around the globe that do this kind of stupid stuff. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. This has become a cottage industry from enemies of the United States, countries that hate our guts, who can enter legally, illegally, just have a kid and we're good to go. Folks, Aisha Hasani at Fox she's a journalist, not an opinion person. I mean, she has opinions, but that's not her job. But she's a very calm, kind of level-headed person. I saw this tweet yesterday, and this kind of nailed it for me. Aisha Hasani, again, she's a reporter, but she says, I've seen birth tourism up close. It's a total abuse of the system. She says, think about it. Someone like me who was not born in the United States, but has lived here since I was 6 years old, similar to my wife, will never be able to run for president. But a child born here through birth tourism, then taken back and raised in their parents' country, never growing up with American values somehow can. American citizenship is not an insurance policy. Folks, listen. Natural born put aside, this is absolutely spot on. Like, you've got people who are here and did everything the right way from the time they were children. My wife is one of them. And now you just get to pop in illegally, legally, pay a few bucks for some birth tourism, and hey, man, you're just good to go. Natural born. This is insane. You know the adage of the Constitution, it's not a suicide pact emanating from the Supreme Court. It's not a, wait, how do the justices not see this? Folks, this is a huge problem. And we've got a member of the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who, folks, has the intellect of, seriously, like a 20-year-old first-year law school student, if that. I know I'm moving a little out of order, but just roll me here for a second, guys.
I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. And, if I don't know who the attorney was that argued this case in front of the Supreme Court, but if that attorney would have given those examples, all right, that maybe the Congress, when they passed this, added this 14th Amendment to the Constitution, didn't see this, okay? Things have changed. All right? So, if this was explained to the Supreme Court justices like Dan Bongino had explained it to us, they may have come to a different decision. And that may be why Pam Bondi doesn't have her job anymore, is because she wasn't doing the right thing. All right? And I know there's a lot of people that support her, and, I gave her the benefit of the doubt as well. But I guess it just didn't work out. She wasn't doing the job that Donald Trump expected. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Dan Bongino.
In the United States.
All right. I've given him a thumbs up. I'm following his channel. I hope you do the same thing for me. And I will include this video in my daily news wrap-up so you will be able to see the rest of this. All right, let's jump back here. And I was doing a little chat in there. I hope you join me in the chat. Okay, let's go with Anthony Brian Logan. Hasan Piker shocked by Cuban poverty, but blames it on this. All right, let's see what this is all about.
Well-known streamer and chunk yoga from Young Turk's nephew, Hasan Piker, went on CNN and said that he was shocked by the level of poverty that he witnessed while visiting Cuba recently. Now, will he point the finger in the correct direction as to why things are like that? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about well-known and controversial streamer Hasan Piker, who is chunk yoga from Young Turk's nephew, admitting on CNN that he was shocked by the level of poverty that he witnessed while in Cuba. Now, I covered this guy in his Cuba trip recently. He was talking about, hey, they love the island, they party all the time, all this, that, and the third. He was saying this while they were rolling blackouts. His hotel, by the way, 5-star joint, had all the amenities, all the accoutrements, and all the power that they needed, while everyone else did not have that. He was saying how they kind of enjoy it because, it's a party island. It's not really a big deal. Meanwhile, they're just trying to survive and trying to deal with the fact that they don't have a lot of food or water or power or much of anything else that we take for granted oftentimes here in the USA. And I think that he most certainly takes these kind of things for granted. He thinks that communism works. He thinks that socialism works. And until he goes to a place that's communist or socialist and he can see for himself that it doesn't work. But $1 million question is, will he admit that the reason Cuba is so poor is because they have embraced communism? I guess we'll see. And before I go any further, let's get straight to the clips. Of course, I will link to everything in the description box if you want to see it and hear it without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Paint us a picture of what it's like on the ground. What'd you see? when I first landed in Cuba, I was taken aback by how beautiful everything was. You got the 1950s cars, and it's a tropical island destination. But very quickly thereafter, as soon as we got into Havana, the main city area where people congregate, I couldn't believe the sights that I was seeing. It was very sad. You had homes that looked like they were bombed out. Our tour guide at the time said that this was somewhat of a product of hurricane season and how difficult it is to like repair these buildings. And
let's pause for a second because of CNN. Now, we can say the bombed out looking buildings and all this destruction is because you got hurricanes and whatnot, but we get hurricanes that hit the USA. I got hit by a hurricane on multiple occasions living in Virginia, and nowhere on the east coast of Virginia does it look like Cuba. Cuba is like that because of communism, but I digress.
And I already had known about the rolling blackouts, and I experienced them later in the day. And it was definitely unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Everything's pitch black. There aren't any traffic lights on. Like it's crazy, right? But I was taken aback. I was very sad by all the poverty that I saw, and then I was very angry. It was actually Ben Rhodes who told me that I would get very sad when I first went to
Obama foreign policy advisor.
Former Obama foreign policy advisor Ben Rhodes, who was formative in the previous normalization agreement with Cuba that Barack Obama had orchestrated, and he was right. It was very sad to see, but then it was very angering. It was very anger-inducing because I felt like there was a lot of potential on this island that we were just robbing the people of.
Who is we, and why are you mad? Like, let's get down to the bottom of that.
And it's totally cruel and totally unnecessary. And it was part of the reason why I went to Cuba, because I've heard a lot about Cuban organizing, the Cuban government. I'd read a lot about it.
Sure.
I knew about the island's history of developing sovereignty, but I'd also heard about this blockade, right? And I wanted to figure out exactly how this blockade was harming people directly, and in many ways that are indirect, because the blockade itself is designed to be invisible. It's a system of sanctions. It's this like bureaucratic nightmare that basically renders it impossible for the island to do regular commerce, just like any other country.
So are you trying to blame the blockade? Is that the reason why Cuba is the way that it is? I don't think so, bro. I think what's happening is communism has stripped the island of its wealth. That's just the bottom line. Once you get past communism, then you'll be able to have some success. But until then, you're not really going to do much. The government is bad. The system of governance is bad. That's the problem, not the blockade.
Banks can't take out loans from any other banks. And you, as an American citizen, as a matter of fact, have a lot of restrictions on what you can and can't do, both on the island, or if you want to even send money, if you have relatives on the island. It's a very difficult process to like directly send cash payments to your relatives as well. It's totally unnecessary. These rules are so arbitrary, and yet they're so damaging to everyone, to everyday Cuban existence.
Okay, so there we go. But I figured he would blame the blockade. I figured he would say, "Oh, it's the blockade's fault." Nah, that blockade is there for a reason, and it's not like they are cut off from the entire world. They can still do business with other countries aside from the USA. They can still get things done. A lot of countries got blockades and sanctions and stuff like that, and they don't look like Cuba. Cuba looks the way it looks because it has embraced communism. It has embraced the Eastern powers, Russia, China, Iran. That's the reason why it looks the way it looks. These Eastern powers utilize Cuba as a weapon against us. That's the objective behind them partnering with Cuba. They're not doing that because they're humanitarians, because there are plenty of places all over the world that need help that don't get the Eastern influence the way Cuba has. Now, let's keep going here. This is what he said back when he first was in Cuba. This is when he was in Cuba a few days ago, talking about what's happening on the island. Let's watch this for a little bit more context in case you need it. Check it out.
It's incredible. It's truly one of my favorite places officially. I totally understand why Will was saying that about Cuba. It's remarkable. The people's resilience is remarkable. There's like rolling blackouts that take place throughout the day, every day, all around the country, right? 11 million people. But today is a beautiful day out here. It's like 75 degrees, sunny. People are partying. People are partying in the fucking streets. I don't know if it's like an island mindset. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I'm sure that has something to do with it, but like they're just chilling. Like it's incredible.
Basically, hey, everybody's chilling. You know what I mean? It's a party island. It's 75 degrees. It's sunny. Yeah, everybody's chilling. I think what's going on is that they are trying to just keep themselves sane and not be in total despair because of the way that their island is. And it's been like that for a very long time due to communism. Nowhere on God's green earth does communism work. It is a thing that's attempted and it always fails in the end. All right, let's keep going here. Now, this is one of the activities that Hasan and his team were doing, throwing cookies and whatnot at little kids to get them dancing so they're able to get content for their stream. And you're going to hear someone narrating it. Shout out to all my Espanol speakers. You'll be able to hear it. There's also going to be captions. Check it out.
Eso es una falta de respeto. Mira ese hombre con una galletita en la mano, poniendo un poco niño a bailar para darle la galletita. Eso es una falta de respeto. Aprovechándose de la miseria del cubano. Aprovechándose de la miseria del cubano.
So if in case you didn't read the captions or you did not understand Spanish, basically he's saying it's disrespectful and they're taking advantage of Cuban poverty. They're taking the cookie and throwing it at little kids, making them dance, like I said, to get content for their stream. Okay. Very disrespectful. You are in the place where you see there's grinding poverty. It's really crazy. It's really wild. You're taking advantage of it. You're making the mockery of it just so you're able to get content for yourself. So you're able to make money. So you're able to keep your thing going by taking advantage of them. Yeah, that's not very nice, Hasan Piker and company. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to the Cuban people. Hopefully you guys get free, get your liberty, because what's happening on the island, what's been happening for a long time is just not right. It's just not right. And I don't see any other way of Cuba being able to be free unless they align with us in the Western Hemisphere. Because if they're just going to be with China, Russia, Iran, I mean, look at those nations. Look at the places that they have, quote unquote, helped. They're not there for the betterment of Cuba. They're there to have basically a military base right there. It's the same thing with Venezuela. It's the same exact thing. Same exact thing. And the Venezuelans are like, yo, can y'all please come here and get this guy up out of here? Can y'all please come here and get China, Russia, Iran up out of here? They were trying to pull a military base right there in Venezuela as well. Unfortunately, Cuba, Venezuela, these places in our part of the world are being used as a pawn in the bigger game. And I wish that it wasn't that way. I wish that everybody just had a total sovereignty and they could just be prosperous and whatnot. But that's not the way the world works, unfortunately. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Hasan Piker's take on his Cuba visit? He was saddened and angry by the way things are, but the blame is not at the system of communism, at the inept and incompetent government on the island. No. It's about the blockade and the sanctions, basically saying it's the U.S.'s fault. Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. How you feel about his activities on the island? Throw cookies at the little kids, making them dance and whatnot. Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I didn't really expect anything more from Hasan. Him admitting that it's sad on that island and it's really bad poverty, that is kind of enough. But really, you can't say anything else. If you were to go there and say that it's beautiful and all the buildings are nice and it's upkept, if you were to say that, you'd be a liar. Everyone knows the Cuban people suffer, and I wish they could get beyond that. I hope that the U.S. being more involved will help them achieve that goal, because years and years of dealing with the other side has not helped them. It has just plunged them deeper and deeper and deeper into poverty. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.
All right, there you have it, folks. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you the video does come from Anthony Brian Logan. Excuse me. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. And, I mean, this guy here, he's rich, obviously staying in a 5-star hotel. They don't come cheap. But, you know, that's it about the Democrats. They always blame something else. They always blame somebody else. You know, I saw an article earlier about how Nancy Pelosi shocked the MSNBC, MS Now crowd by saying that Trump hacked the election machines. Or Trump can hack the election machines. Talk about projection. Pretty amazing. And another one of her wrap-up smears, I'm sure. But, I mean, that's all they do is blame somebody else about the problems that's going on. Unfreaking believable. All right, let's jump back here and see what Robert Gouveia has to say about Trump unleashes election integrity executive order. I wonder how that's probably why Nancy Pelosi's pissed off, because of election integrity. Oh, Trump's hacking the voting machines. Okay. All right, let's see what it's all about. And if this video starts, I don't know, Rumble must
President Trump now signing an election executive order. Those mail-in ballots will not be as fraudulent if he has anything to say about it. This just dropped on the White House website, now signed by number 47 himself, ensuring citizenship verification and integrity in federal elections. And you can already hear the lib lawyers typing away, getting ready for the lawsuits to fly first thing tomorrow morning. I guarantee it. But he says, by authority vested in me as president, including other congressional laws like the HAVA, Help America Vote Act, Congress passed it. The National Voter Registration Act, Congress passed that too. Trump says, it is hereby ordered the following will be happening. He gives us some purpose and policy. He says the right to vote is reserved exclusively for citizens of the United States. Federal law explicitly prohibits non-citizens from registering. Social Security keeps a list, Homeland keeps a list, and there's a SAVE program, not the Save America Act, that's called the Systemic and Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements Program. And so now what we're going to be doing is invoking these laws to change some policies to ensure that the illegal aliens are not voting anymore. Now, let me share with you what went down in the Oval Office, because the president was out today making this announcement, and here is what he said.
Well, thank you very much. This was a meeting set up very proudly by us, having to do with voter integrity and mail-in ballots and stopping the massive cheating that's gone on. And so we're going to be signing an executive order. It's, I believe it's foolproof. And maybe it'll be tested, maybe it won't. I think it's very obvious what's said. And I'll ask Will Scharf to start off, attorney, a great talent, a very brilliant young man. And if you could discuss it, and then I'm going to ask Howard Lutnick to say a few words, and then I'm going to sign it, and we'll take a couple of questions. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, as you said, you have in front of you an executive order that deals with a number of issues relating to election integrity. As you've consistently identified, two of the biggest problems we have with election integrity in this country are, one, inaccurate voter rolls that allow ineligible people to vote in various federal and state elections all over the country. And secondarily, you've consistently identified that vote by mail in this country has become rife with fraud. People returning ballots who aren't eligible to return ballots, ballots being sent to people who aren't confirmed to be eligible voters. So what this executive order is going to do is, one, we're going to take federal data. We're going to ensure that each state's election officials are provided with a comprehensive view of who the eligible voters in their jurisdiction actually are, allowing them to properly verify that everybody voting in their elections is legally able to vote. And then it orders the Postmaster General and the U.S. Postal Service to take bold new measures to verify that ballots both being sent to people are being sent to people who are eligible to vote, and then the ballots being returned or being properly returned by eligible voters only. And we believe that combined, the measures in this executive order will help secure elections in the future and ensure that the many abuses of our election system in the past aren't repeated in future elections.
Right. Howard?
So the fundamentals of our democracy are built on voter integrity. Right? We all need it. You've said it time and time again. It's a total agreement amongst everybody. So here's the idea. The states, right, run these elections. They will, if they want to use the U.S. mail, U.S. Postal Service, they're going to get a code, a barcode from the U.S. Postal Service, and they're going to put that on the envelope. And we will have one envelope per vote. None of this time where we have no idea, there's no observers to mail, there's no envelopes, there's no certainty. That's all going to go away. And what the president is doing today is he's going to make sure that mail-in ballots are safe, secure, and accurate, and will have a clear distinction. If you voted by mail, you will have it on the envelope. Obviously not on the ballot, but on the envelope. So we will know 1 million mail-in ballots. There'll be 1 million envelopes, and you'll be able to know exactly, correctly, that citizens voted.
And this came up with some great legal minds. They looked at the various documents and everything that was going on, because the cheating on mail-in voting is legendary. It's horrible what's going on. And it's very clearly covered, very, very clearly. So I think this will help a lot with elections. We'd like to have voter ID. We'd like to have proof of citizenship, and that'll be another subject for another time. We're working on that. You would think it'd be easy. It's a 98% issue for Republicans. It's 86%. The thing just came out, a poll. And it's 86% with Republicans and Democrats, not leaders, because the leaders of the Democrats cheat.
Yeah, they don't want
that to change. The only people that don't want to do voter ID are people that cheat. There's no other reason for it. Proof of citizenship, they want to be able to cheat. There's no reason. They have all sorts of reasons, excuses, but it's all nonsense. They want to cheat. But the Democrats themselves are very high. It's a very positive, very, very good thing. The Democrat voters, the Democrat leaders, guys like Schumer, who are corrupt, they want to use it for cheating because their policy is so bad with. Think of their policy, open borders for everybody, where people pour into our country from countries all over the world. Think of that. You look at, just take any issue, take anything, everything they have is so crazy. But the fact that they don't want to sign voter ID is another issue. It's a big issue. The fact that they don't have proof of citizenship, that they want transgender for everybody, that they want men in women's sports. So the only way, they assume, the only way they can win is to cheat. When you have men and women's sports, it's fine. It's wonderful. By the way, I worked very hard with the Olympic Committee and got that terminated for the Olympics. Very nice. Now, girls won't have to get beat up in the boxing ring like they did last time. If you saw those fights, too, people that transitioned beat the hell out of everyone, out of other people, women. It was not a pretty sight to watch. So I worked very hard with the Olympic Committee, and we were able to get that out. So the Olympics will not have men and women's sports. Okay. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm proud of it. And I don't know how it can be challenged. You'll probably challenge it. You may say, find a rogue judge. You get a lot of rogue judges.
There'll be them.
Very bad people, very bad judges. But that's the only way that can be changed. And hopefully we'll win on appeal if it is. But I don't see how anybody can challenge it.
Beautiful.
I don't see how they can challenge it.
All right, let's take a look at what's inside that beautiful document here. So we've got the purpose and the policy. We got a couple of things that are being established here. So they've got, obviously, the purpose and the policy is to make sure our elections are not rigged and that there is integrity, that we've got reliable, auditable mechanisms to ensure that we're actually governing ourselves and that foreigners or fraudsters are not governing us. So they're going to establish and transmit state citizenship lists, saying to the extent feasible and consistent with applicable law, the Secretary of Homeland Security, now Mark Wayne Mullen, through the Director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services and in coordination with other people, shall take appropriate action to compile and transmit to the chief election official of each state a list of individuals confirmed to be United States citizens who will be above the age of 18 at the time of an upcoming election and who maintain a residence in that state. So the feds have the lists. So we'll just say this is a list of all the citizens that we think are citizens who are in your state and who reside there. It's going to be called the State Citizenship List, shall be derived from the Federal Citizen and Naturalization Records, SSA records, SAVE data, and other relevant databases. The citizenship list shall be updated and transmitted to state election officials no fewer than 60 days before each regularly scheduled federal election, and promptly upon request of any state person. In special elections, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish procedures to, 1, allow individuals to access their individual records and update or correct them in advance of the election, enable states to routinely supplement and provide suggested modifications or amendments to the state citizenship list. An individual's identification on the list does not indicate that the individual has been properly registered to vote in the state. It's just saying the feds know this person's a citizen. State and federal laws and state procedures must still be followed if you want to register to vote. There may be state laws not reflected in the state citizenship list that preclude voter registration, or the individual may choose not to be registered. But in other words, they're saying, all right, if we can't get your list and check them, we'll give you our list. And if we find that you've got our list and you still enable people to vote who are not on that list, they may be non-citizens because we have a list of all your citizens because we're the federal government. So for the purposes of this order, an individual is eligible to vote if they're going to be 18. The AG shall prioritize the investigation and, as appropriate, the prosecution of state and local officials and any others involved in the administration of elections who issue federal ballots to individuals who are not eligible to vote. Let's go. Because if you want to register to vote and you're an illegal alien, all you do is check a box on the form, or you're not entitled to vote. And you just say, no, it's like a box. That's it. And you're good, and you can't validate it. Similarly, the AG shall prioritize and, as appropriate, the prosecution and investigation of individuals in public or private entities who are aiding and abetting the printing, production, shipment, or distribution of ballots who are not eligible to vote in a federal election. Man, amazing. The unlawful use of mail-in as well. So they're saying the U.S. Postal Service is going to have rulemaking on mail-in and absentee ballots. To ensure faithful execution of federal law, to protect the integrity of the mail as a medium for transmitting election ballots, and to establish uniform standards for mailing or sending absentee ballots through the mail, the Postmaster General is now hereby directed to initiate a proposed rulemaking pursuant to the law and other authority within 60 days of this order. The rulemaking shall include at minimum of the following. 1. Proposed provisions specifying that all outbound ballot mail must be mailed in a special envelope. It must be marked as official election mail, including through designated markings provided by the Postal Service for this purpose, like an official election mail logo as necessary. Is also automation compatible and bears a unique intelligent mail barcode. Oh, they're going to hate this. Or successor USPS technology that facilitates the tracking and is consistent with other requirements of this section. It's like certified mail. Has undergone a mail envelope design review to ensure compliance, including the placement of the barcode. Also, proposed provisions specifying that no fewer than 90 days before a federal election, any state may choose to notify the Postal Service if it intends to allow for mail-in or absentee ballots using the mail. As part of that notification, any notifying state should further indicate whether it intends to submit to USPS, no fewer than 60 days, a list of voters eligible to vote in the election in such a state to whom the state intends to provide a ballot or to be transmitted via the USPS. Also, there are going to be proposed provisions for saying that the Postal Service shall not transmit mail-in or absentee ballots from any individual unless those individuals have been enrolled in a state-specific list under this subsection. Proposed provisions specifying the Postal Service says the Postal Service shall provide each state with a list of individuals who are enrolled and, pursuant to this, who are sending mail-in or absentee ballots. They, along with others, will have a ballot envelope identifier, barcodes, mail-in ballots, and more for all the absentee stuff. Proposed procedures that enables the state to routinely supplement or provide modifications. They shall coordinate with the Inspector General if they find any suspected unlawful use of the mail, and more. Now, Homeland is going to jump into this. The AG shall enforce compliance with this by providing guidance and explaining and administering the distribution of these materials. Homeland Security also shall, within 90 days, establish infrastructure necessary to compile and maintain and transmit the citizenship list that we talked about before. The Commissioner of the Social Security Administration shall provide all necessary citizenship and identity data to Homeland in support of this requirement, of course, following the Privacy Act. The AG, in terms of enforcement, and the heads of all executive agencies shall take all lawful steps to deter and address non-compliance with federal law, including withholding federal funds from non-compliant states. Cut them off. Evidence of violations of any existing federal laws, including any of the instrumentalities thereof, contractors, individuals who administer, public-private entities who print, ship, distribute the ballots, the printers, the runbacks, all these third-party companies that count and scan and do all of them. You've got to comply with this. Otherwise, we're not paying for you. States and localities should preserve for a 5-year period all records and materials, including ballots cast and evidencing voter participating in elections. Also, nothing in this order is going to be impairing anything else, like the OMB. This order is not intended to create any substantive rights. All this is kind of boilerplate language they put at the end of these things. Beautiful development signed by the president, Donald J. Trump, from the White House. He's going to be sued, obviously, into oblivion by the usual suspects. Mark Elias right now is having a meltdown in his house right now. That is a big development. Election executive order saying, we know who the citizens are. We're going to send you the list there, non-compliant states, and it's going to be your obligation to make sure that only people on that list are voting. Otherwise, you're in big trouble. And if you don't want to comply with this, we're just going to cut your money off. And we may prosecute you if you are part of the chain of the fraud that continues to enable the elections to be rigged and stolen by the fraudsters.
Okay. Let me pause this here. Cancel. There we go. Okay, let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Robert Gouveia. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. And, you know, he has to do this. Because Congress, even though there's a majority of Republicans, I mean, they could do things to get this passed. They could. You know, blow the filibuster if they're concerned about what the Democrats will do with that. Okay, you can eliminate the filibuster with 51 votes and get this passed. Then you could put it back in and make it so that you have to have 60 votes to change the filibuster or do anything if that's what they want. But this is ridiculous. Republicans not wanting to have election integrity. There's only one reason why, and that's because they are scamming off the system as well. The Republican incumbents. Rand Paul, John Thune. Rand Paul's against everything. I don't understand that guy. I mean, he sounds good, talks a good story, but whatever. Wendy Bell gives this example numerous times. In Pennsylvania, there were 1.8 million ballots sent out in 2020, but yet 2.4 million ballots were counted. Mail-in ballots were counted. And they didn't think that was a freaking problem? I don't get it. All right. Well, let's jump back here. And we've got Joe Laub. If that was a D, it would be loud. I guess it's Laub. Joe Laub gave me a thumbs up in the chat box, so I appreciate that. And the reason I appreciate that, let me jump over here and share my creator program, my stats so far this month. Okay, hours streamed. My goal is 30. I've got 21 hours streamed. This is the second day of the month, okay? This is April 2nd. Total unique chatters this month, I need 20. I've got 12. Now, when I first started this video, I pulled this up and it was 10. So I've got 10 new chats, 2 new chats just during this video of people that haven't chatted yet this month. Okay, I need 8 more. Let's see here. I got 16 people watching. Surely there's 8 of you out there that hasn't chatted with me so far this month. If you just, like Joe did, give me a thumbs up or in the chat box, or give me a thumbs down in the chat box, or a smiley face or a frowny face, whatever. Okay, Rumble Premium exclusive hours streamed. I need 5. I've got 6.5. I've met that. Hours watched this month. I need 200 hours watched. Right now I've got 337.9. Okay, so I've reached that. It's just the second of the month. Total unique raids this month. My requirement is 5. I've got 6. Okay, so I'll get the hours streamed from Rumble Studio. I'll get that by tomorrow night. Okay, I just need 8 people that has not given me a chat this month to get in that chat box and say hi or bye or how do you do. Okay? All right, let's jump back here, close this out, slide down here, and see what Wendy Bell has to say. Welcome to the dark side. All right, let's check it out. I guess this has something to do with the moon shot. I lived through this the first time, okay, back in 1969. And, this is a very interesting thing because there's a lot of people that say that there never was a moon shot back in the 60s. And it kind of makes you scratch your head and wonder about that. Why, since, the 70s, they haven't gone to the moon because they lost the technology. I mean, that's the excuse that I heard. They lost the technology. Okay. And there's a lot of people that say, well, that was just done in a studio, and I'm sure that it would be difficult to convince those people that this particular moonshot has not been done in a studio. Okay. All right. Well, let's see what Wendy Bell has to say about this on the dark side. And Rumble must be having some issues because I pushed the play button and it's just kind of sitting there. Come on, let's get this going. Do a refresh. Come on, anytime. Anytime. This would be nice if it would play. Let me jump over here and see if I can get it to play from... I don't get it. All right, I don't get it. Here we go.
Moment of stop what you're doing and watch that lift off. This president wants to go to the stars. He wants to go beyond the moon. He wants to go 260,000 miles away to the dark side of the moon. And here, back on planet Earth, you've got a uniparty swamp creature thing going on the left, right? That will stop at nothing to stop him. And we're being told by polls, yeah, people really don't like what this president is doing. I'm like, really, who? Who doesn't like this whole idea that there's something so well beyond our stars that we can see? How much do you believe? How much do you believe has been withheld from you? How much do you want to explore? What do you really want to know? I think we have a president who's like, open the files. Stop redacting everything. These people have paid for all of this. We've abused them for generations. We've lied to them. We've got in wars because of this so that we could continue profiting off of other people's suffering and pain. And we have Democrats here who are so desperate to tell you that this is all bad. Nobody likes this president. Well, let's go out to Cape Canaveral, Artemis 2, lifting off 4 astronauts on their journey to the moon and back. Would you have heard about this under Joe Biden? No. Would you have heard about it under Barack Obama? No. Would you have heard about it under the measly-mouthed, wishy-washy willow George Bush? No. Yesterday, when my son Jack came into the kitchen when Joe and I were making dinner and he flipped on the TV, everything in the room stopped. This is what it sounded like.
RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch. Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of integrity on the Artemis 2 mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high. On time passing 30 seconds into the flights.
Do you need a more poignant illustration of what this president wants for the future of not just this country, but the world? A literal rocket, right? Shooting off into the atmosphere to show you that nothing's beyond reach. See, Democrats want you destitute. They want you sick. They need you addicted. They wanted you to stay at home, stay calm, stay safe. They want to run everything for you. Don't worry, we've got it all under our purview. This president says, light them up. Let them off. Let's go. Let's roll. I don't know if we could have more examples in the recent past of what we're up against as a people, as a country, than the stark black and white of this administration and basically everything else we've been used to, right? Let's name anything you want. Name anything you want. Let's talk about security and safety. Obviously, this president ran on and won, shutting down the border, getting rid of the criminals, getting a lasso on illegal immigration, stopping this constant birth mill of anchor babies who then bring their families over and sponge off of the goodness of the American people. And this president was bold enough to stand up years ago and say, suck it, we're done. I'm going to change things. I'm going to run. I'm going to win. I'm going to fix it. And I'm the only one who can. And they laughed, but they were scared. Did you hear what Chuck Schumer did? And Hakeem Jeffries? Apparently, there's now a lawsuit against the president and his executive order we heard about just hours ago, which would tighten up mail-in ballots so that each envelope had a specific barcode that was unique, almost like a fingerprint to the voter. There would be no mass mailings. There would be no more getting more ballots back than you sent out. None of that garbage. The only reason the Democrats sued Donald Trump to stop that from happening is because they have no other way. There's nothing left. Black people have awakened and have walked off the reservation, right? The unions have done this total flip. Now, the Republican Party, this MAGA movement, this president has completely changed the hardworking man and woman in this country and dragged them away from the empty promises of unions that suck as much as the federal government and brought them into a, we're going to make it easier for you. You're going to work overtime. We're not going to tax you for that. You've got an administration that's doing everything it can, investing in newborn babies. That is as wild and far-fetched for a typical presidential administration as going back to the moon 54 years after you went the first time. Right? And every single day, this president does one more thing to fulfill a promise he made years ago, oftentimes decades ago. And yet you're being fed a healthy, never-ending diet of fake news. I want you to hear this gentleman. It's only like 30 seconds long. This gentleman you are about to hear is a former astronaut. His name is Jerry Leininger, and he's on with Fox yesterday as this Artemis 2 launches off with 4 astronauts aboard to go do something remarkable. And if you close your eyes, you don't even have to see it. You can see it in your mind. The smile on this man's face. Listen.
It's just awesome. They got to be so excited. And 2 years of working hard. God bless America. I mean, the things with the Trump space policy is unreal. He started it his first term, and this is the fruition of it. A big, beautiful bill had enough budget to make this kind of stuff happen. And, you know, America is great again. It's just, I am so proud.
And so that is the question. That is where we are. What do you want? Do you want to be a part of making America great again, where 260,000 miles isn't too far to explore? Or do you want to be part of the other side that wants to blanket you in regulations, suffocate you with legal mumbo jumbo, overregulate every daggone thing that you do, and then every year bend you over a little bit further to make you pay more and get less? This is it. In one beautiful liftoff, the entire world watched. America is back. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, we're going to talk about what the president said last night, 9 o'clock address to the nation. I guess some Survivor fans were ticked because it cut into their episode. You can't make it up. I got to tell you what he said. I want to tell you how Iran responded before I even tell you what he said. We're going to do a little backwards first because what the hell? It's my show and we can. Love you guys. Stay tuned. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, we're going to run a little bit over, but I'm going to go ahead and play this next segment for you. Coming up about the 23 minute mark here. If I can get the...
Joint Chiefs.
Let me back up just a little bit here. I think she's...
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. All of the people out there, Donald Trump has no plan. There's no plan for this attack on Iran. It shouldn't have happened. Why did he do it? He's a dictator. It sounds like a king. Well, no, he's basically this president. His Joint Chiefs, his Secretary of War, all of the people who talk, the Secretary of State, they all have the same bullet points. This is what we did. This is why we did it. This is the result. And this is when we're done. That's what last night was. And it wasn't long. I think it was like 18 minutes. And we're going to get it for you here right after this break. But I want to tell you how Iran reacted to President Trump's address last night, which was teed up by a 2-minute explainer by your Secretary of State. So ahead of the president's primetime address, Marco Rubio released a video explaining the timing of the U.S. military strikes on Iran. He's concise. He gives you exactly what's going on. This is the story. This is why, lest you be concerned or indoctrinated by the fake news. And he said simply, Iran posed an intolerable risk. This administration is carving out these dangers for America's children and grandchildren. That's a fact. Here's Marco.
Many Americans are asking, why did the United States have to attack Iran now? Well, let me explain. Iran wants to have nuclear weapons. Of that, there is zero doubt. If what they truly wanted, which is what they claim, is nuclear energy, well, they could have nuclear energy like all the other countries in the world have it. And that is you import the fuel and you build reactors above ground. That's not what Iran has done. They build their reactors and their facilities deep in mountains, away from the public glare. And they want to enrich that material. The same equipment that they could use to enrich material for energy, they could use to quickly enrich it to weapons grade. So it is clear that they've been offered every opportunity to have a nuclear program that allows them to have energy, not weapons. And every single time they have turned it down. But why the attack now? Well, what was Iran trying to do? Iran was trying to build a conventional shield, in essence, have so many missiles, have so many drones that no one could attack them. And they were well on their way. We were on the verge of an Iran that had so many missiles and so many drones that no one could do anything about their nuclear weapons program in the future. That was an intolerable risk. Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. And under no circumstances can they be allowed to hide and protect that program and their ambitions behind a shield of missiles and drones that no one can do anything about. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build. And the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
I think that is extraordinarily clear. They've lied repeatedly. We know they've lied. Liars are going to lie. They're going to lie again. For now, we can at least set them back several decades. So how did Iran react? I don't know whomever the semblance of their leadership is, because pretty much we've killed everybody, right? Iran threatens destructive attacks on U.S. after Trump declares war an overwhelming victory, right? These people, even if this is just one semblance of one individual who's tweeting something out or saying something, they will never go. They will never quit. They will never stop. They will never cease and desist. They will be a scourge for all of the rest of time. But for the next 20 years, they won't be threatening your children or your grandchildren with nuclear extermination. And people are like, that's so farcical. It's like so not happening. Really? Why would they lie to you? Why would he say? They were building up an arsenal of drones and missiles that was giving it a protective nuclear shield. Anybody wanted to fiddle with Iran? Good luck. That's now over. So Iran says, you know what? The military threatened on Thursday to launch crushing and destructive attacks on the U.S. after President Trump declared Operation Epic Fury an overwhelming victory in address to the nation. Tehran issued its fiery response after Trump reiterated his intentions to bomb Iran back to the Stone Age, branding the Islamic Republic fanatical and the most violent and thuggish regime on earth. So this is the military's operational command. They send out on a statement aired on state TV, right? with trust in Almighty God. This war will continue until your humiliation, disgrace, permanent and certain regret and surrender await our more crushing, broader, and more destructive actions. With what? With what? What are you going to come at us with? What do you have left? Your Navy is destroyed. You do not have any more aircraft that could be airborne. The majority of your missile defense system completely destroyed. Your drones and the capability to make more obliterated. So, what is this? And why is that the answer? When the president says there are cooler heads prevailing, more reasonable negotiators within the country in some sort of leadership structure. And if that's the case, and they'd like a ceasefire, which he says they do, we will see if we can make a deal. Isn't it always interesting that the response from Tehran is completely the opposite of what President Trump says? It's almost like we're not making nuclear weapons. We're just trying to do this for energy production, right? So let's hear what the president had to say when he says we're going to be done and what it means moving forward. You're not going to get the real story on the news. Thank God we're here. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty, let me go ahead and pause that and click on the Rumble link. I will include this in my daily news wrap-up. Okay, this is the video I shared with you from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and let me. I'm going to go ahead and answer your question here, M41 Coco, when she asked about how much of my show has become premium. Okay, I only do premium. I need to do 5 hours a month. So what I do is on the first of the month, April 1st, which was like yesterday, my daily news wrap up after midnight. Shortly after midnight or right before, I can't remember exactly the time, I click on it to make it premium, and that's how I get my 5 hours, is through the middle of the night. I apologize for that, but that's one of the goals that Rumble wants me to do, and in return, they will promote my videos out so more people can see them. Okay, and I don't do premium because I'm not doing this for the money, for people to have to pay to see my information or the information that they share out. I'm doing this to reach as many people as possible so that they can hear the truth about what's going on, rather than the lies and propaganda from the Democrats and the mainstream media, deep state swamp, and what have you. So, those are my principles here. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. And, I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it to spread information. If you can help me by sharing this information out, I would greatly appreciate that. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and copy this live chat, into a comment. So it'll be a permanent part of this video, because when the live stream ends, the live chat just kind of vaporize into hyperspace or something. I don't know. Okay, so there we go. I've got the chat in there, permanent. And let me remind you folks that these videos that I share with you come directly from the producer's channel. I have the links to the videos as well as the links to the producer's channel in here. And the videos that I share with you are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. It's a free site. You can come here, click on any of these videos, and it comes directly from the producers. So the producers, going to receive the credit for the view, the thumbs up, the follow, the subscription, whatever. I update this site daily, in fact, multiple times a day, to give you fresh new information, so you don't have to surf the internet for news. It's right here at Mertech.com. Now, I'd like to share all this information with you, but unfortunately, I just don't have the time to do so. And that's why I put my daily news wrap-up together right here. And again, Pam Bondi just got fired by Benny Johnson. I'm going to start that off and then go with Wendy Bell and take off where we left off in the video I just shared with you, and then Dan Bongino take off where I left off in the video that I just shared with you. Then we've got other new information here. It says I have 19 videos. Got about 10 or 11 hours worth of great information. So give me some time to get this set up in Rumble Studio. Go ahead and take a break, grab a donut and a cup of coffee or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes to get this set up in Rumble Studio, and we'll get this taken off. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.